Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm CYRIL STOBER. Now, the 24th World Economic Forum in Africa officially kicks off in Abuja from the 7th to the 9th of May. Nigeria will use the platform to showcase its economic potentials, just as the private and public sectors will be exposed to the workings of global economies and businesses. Now, the World Economic Forum for Africa is coming at a time Nigeria's gross domestic product has been rebased with more accurate data and growth indices provided for potential investors in what is now the largest economy in the African continent and the 26th largest in the world. Now, the federal government is aggressively pursuing developmental programs, among them the current basic registry information system that has been driven by the National Planning Commission to capture data from ward level for economic planning. Now, what are the benefits expected from hosting the World Economic Forum for Africa? And how can the forum provide the platform for the opening up of more opportunities to grow the Nigerian economy? We have answers with experts after this background report by Cliff Ayozi.
Back to January 1971. Then known as European Management Forum, it however transformed into its present status in 1987. The forum, which pursued European interests, was driven by what it tagged stakeholder principle, propagated by Professor Klaus Schwab, where the management of an enterprise is not only accountable to its stakeholders, but must also serve the interests of all stakeholders, including employers, customers, suppliers, extending to government, civil society, among other operators. From the beginning, the forum had made considerable impact in improving political, economic, and social awareness, acting as catalyst for major bridge-building efforts. The need to make its activities more beneficial beyond Europe informed the introduction of emerging economies like China and India to the international community. The forum has been involved in such global initiatives like the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, Global Fund to fight HIV and AIDS, and development of the G20 concept. Its belief in the peculiarity of challenges and the need for a globally interconnected world led to the creation of the World Economic Forum for the regions. This led to the establishment of the World Economic Forum for Africa in 1990, with first meeting holding in Davos, Switzerland. That year, the African Forum became a South African affair as they hosted the meeting a record 16 times. Other African nations that took turn in hosting the forum are Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and now Nigeria.
Well, the World Economic Forum is a gathering of leaders from different stakeholder communities, from government, from business, and from civil society. One of the aspirations over the years has been to move away from its origin as a South African meeting dominated by South Africans to a meeting that is truly representative of the continent, and therefore one where the outcomes would really reflect a regional agenda. And in this respect, just this year, we're expecting participants from over 40 countries across Africa. We're expecting over 1,000 participants. The majority are from Africa.
In 2011, the forum, along with the AU and the NEPAD, launched Grow Africa to make faster progress towards improving livelihoods. In just 2 years, it has raised $7 billion through the private sector to invest in agriculture, with about half of this to be invested in Nigeria.
We have the Grow Africa initiative, which is supposed to help agriculture and smallholders across the continent, that has been able to raise about $7 billion in investments. I think half or more than half of which will be coming to Nigeria. So we have the healthcare initiative that is designed to strengthen access to healthcare in countries, and Nigeria will benefit from that.
No Better Time is the title, indicating all the incentives and opportunities for investors. And we are hoping that as a result of this event, the program, the discussions, the investors will see that Nigeria is really the place to be. We expect that there will be significant foreign and domestic direct investment that will further expand our economic base.
As the World Economic Forum on Africa kickstarts in Abuja, issues on the table include industries for impact, African consumer, new solutions, rethinking education, unlocking job, creating growth, diversifying development finance, and new solutions from gap to growth.
Well, that report by Cliff Ayoze sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me first introduce you to our guest tonight. We'd like to welcome to this program Senator AHMED MAKARFI, who's chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance. Thanks for being here, Senator.
A pleasure.
Right. We're joined by a friend of the House, ENWEGBARA, a development economist. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me, sir.
We also have tonight FAGBEMI, one of our regulars, Executive Director, Center for Peace Building and Socio-Economic Resource Development. Thank you very much for having me. Let me also welcome Dr. Ali ADAMU, a development consultant and economic historian. Dr. ADAMU, nice to have you join us.
Thank you. Good evening to us.
And then let me also welcome Dr. Anthony Ua, industrial economist and an engineer. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Right. At the appropriate time, the phone lines will be open, the numbers will be on your screen, and that means you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. You can call in with the questions or comments, and I guess we'll respond to such issues as you might raise. Let me quickly add that if you do get through at that time, turn down the volume of your TV set. That way we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo, if you please. So once again, welcome to NGERIA Tuesday Live. Let's begin. Well, distinguished Senator, about 1,000 business and political leaders will be gathered here in Nigeria's federal capital for this World Economic Forum on Africa. And we're looking at what the benefits will be from hosting this event and how this might lead to the much needed creation of job opportunities that we're talking about in the future. But let's look at how the hosting of this conference can impact on growing Nigeria's economy.
Well, first of all, at this trying moment, in our history, for the world to gather in Nigeria is a restatement of the confidence, in the abilities of Nigerians to deal with their domestic internal issues. So that's upfront, an endorsement. And also, from the brief we have the clip we had when the Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy was saying that one of the aspects of the World Economic Forum targeted at inclusive growth and creating jobs in Africa, the initiative Grow Africa, already more than half of the $7 billion that already has been committed is coming into Nigeria. So hosting the event with the rebasing of the GDP, the largest economy, with number of businessmen, majority of the 1,000 that are going together are Nigerians, by the way. So the more you have participating, the more the chances that they link up with other international businesses and other international institutions to attract the needed investment in the areas that will diversify our economy, open the economy up, create more wealth, create the necessary employment that is needed to make the growth inclusive. Why I think the term inclusive growth is used is that, with 5%, Africa is effectively having the higher, fastest, growth of economy the world over. But this growth needs to go down. It should go down and affect the lives of majority of Nigerians. That is why the term inclusive is used in this.
All right. Well, let's hear from the development economist, MOHAMMED.
What's the question?
Same issues. How will hosting this forum lead to the opening up of opportunities as to engender this inclusive growth and job opportunities we talk about?
Wow, this is really a difficult question. It's difficult in the sense that there are three ways to answer this question. I can answer as a politician, which I'm not. I can answer as a diplomat, which I'm not. Or I can answer as an economist.
Sure, answer as an economist.
The problem is that sometimes the truth is painful to be told. And especially in an environment where it is always better to avoid the truth and say what everybody wants to hear. You see, the question we have asked ourselves is this. First and foremost, so many African countries have hosted this. What are the tangible results? I'm not against economic diplomacy, but economic diplomacy must fit into an overall economic plan of economy. So that when you bring it in, you have already made a plan with which sectors you are going to tap in. But when you bring in things like this, for people to come and see, for people to come and recognize Nigeria, I will swear to my life, 80 to 90% of these people coming have been to Nigeria, except their aides, their assistants. But a serious businessman anywhere in the world. Nigeria is not a banana republic, so they know. Even if they have not come, what they need is to go to the commercial section of that is in Nigeria and ask questions. The CIA report on Nigeria. Why am I saying all this in serious? Is that had it been Nigeria has addressed some basic problems that could have made the enabling environment effective. Nigeria people have been begging anybody to come and invest in Nigeria. Nigeria people have been made fatiguing to sell itself, because what we are trying to do is like we are trying to sell a bad product to market it to be a good product. But there's a limit to which you can market a bad product. The best option for a bad product is to take it back to the drawing board and make it a good product and decide to sell. Having said that, yes, it's possible that the people come in, we have the opportunity to view Nigeria from a different perspective. Oh, this is not the country we are watching on CNN or Frostat. Of course, one of the most beautiful cities I have been in Africa is Abuja. So it's an opportunity for some of them to actually see Abuja, but they may not because of Boko Haram and things like that. And also they may not have the opportunity to, taste Nigerian food and things like that as a way of saying, okay, this is a place I can come back. Because the most important thing, sir, is not this for coming, but the ability to return. And for them to return, every businessman looks at cost benefit. Politics has no role there. Just imagine you're selling with your money. In fact, go to a madman and give a madman money and ask him or her to give you a change. He will give you correct change, because money is, I don't know what is in money. It is so important that when it comes to money, people become more reasonable, become wiser, and things like that. So what I'm saying is, having been that this country, this government, has focused on two things. I don't want it to go beyond two things: fixed power and fixed road network. Nigeria our GDP now, we cannot be talking billion, 500 billion. We can be talking about 2 trillion, because Nigeria has the potential. Nigeria is such a wealthy nation in human capital. That is the ability of people to think out of the box. Nigeria is such nationally endowed nation. But we are not supposed to be talking about things like this. We are not supposed to be celebrating what South Africa has hosted God knows how many times. That's what I'm saying. But I still welcome it because, I mean, as you rightly said, there's nothing bad inviting people to come and talk. But we have to go beyond talking. We have to have a master plan. I continue to say this country needs a master plan. China did it in 1978 when it came into power. The first thing he did was to draw a comprehensive master plan. What China will be in 5 years, what China will be in 10 years, what China will be in 20 years. You see, sorry, as an architect, when you have a house not designed by an architect, the builders are making mistakes. But when there's a master plan, a comprehensive master plan, you know the next thing you have when you have a plan, how do I finance it? That is where the problem lies. And as we think about how to finance it, so innovative ways of financing is how coming up. Who will provide this fund? Who will provide that fund? As soon as we do that, economic development, when I say this, people might be lacking. It is the simplest thing nations do. All you need to do is to understand the techniques. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. No nature has been invented the wheel. It is to help small businesses, make cost of doing business very low, and we provide the infrastructure, and provide enabling environment with security. The economy drives itself. All right?
Your views? Yeah, I think we need to do a thorough context analysis and the content analysis. And when you look at it, what is the World Economic Forum all about? It is an attempt by the civil society to constructively engage the state apparatus with a mindset of focusing on economy and development to bring about integrated development, and you can see that it has survived over the years. So when you see a country recognized as a viable host, it means that that country is truly interested in interfacing and engaging with the other stakeholders that will drive the economy. We have the organized private sector in the Nigerian state, and you'll discover that preceding this economic forum, we had the Nigeria Economic Summit some few weeks before now. And some of the resolutions and the drivers of that economic summit are the same ones that are feeding into the World Economic Forum. In the last couple of years, Nigeria has succeeded in entering into bilateral and multilateral economic packages in such a manner that is expected to contribute to the series of, even though development economies may say we have very weak architecture, but you will discover that we do have some architecture in place. Yes, it is easy for us to want to pick holes and identify the gaps and bring them to the fore, but we are definitely a country with some form of architecture to drive our economy and to transform that economy to bring about integrated development. And like the distinguished chair of the Senate Committee on Finance rightly brought out, when you're looking forward to having an inclusive growth, you are excited about ensuring that all the stakeholders will come on board. Nigeria is part and parcel of the African system, and for us to be hosting an African-centered economic forum, what we are trying to do is to take a look at the economic framework at the continental level that we are already party to and we are subscribed, and there are quite a number of them. At the ECOWAS level, we have a number of these policy frameworks, including the free movement of persons and goods and services. And when you look at the way things are evolving in terms of these relations and these frameworks, there is a need to harmonize perspectives and to bring about the value addition that is required.
We have just done the rebasing, which is to help us to capture the other sectors of our economy that we've not been able to capture before now. And we are having a reinvigoration of the agricultural sector, which is supposed to contribute to the food security and helping us to move towards human security and ensuring that Nigeria is no longer a monocultural economy dependent on oil. And even if we are dependent on oil, we want to ensure that that oil is packaged in such a manner that other sectors of the economy can truly benefit from it and be used to jumpstart it. Where are those coming? Some of the critical attendees of the World Economic Forum that is already holding are from the economic communities of the other RECs on the African continent. We have actually 5 regional economic blocks, and each of those blocks are represented in this forum. And you now have the Chinese, you have the Europeans, and you have the Americans going to participate, which means that we want to help to bring everybody on board in such a manner that we can take a closer look and reflect on the need to correct some of the challenges associated with our relations over the years. A good example of what we will be achieving will revolve around ensuring that the dynamics of the state-state relations, vis-a-vis the legal and policy frameworks for the relationship that should exist and benefit the organized private sector, will be further enhanced. The Senate Committee on Finance is always upbeat. The economic team of the Nigerian state has taken a look, and we equally have the national conference ongoing in such a manner that all these things are interfaced and integrated into it. I see this as another opportunity in the series of the things that will launch the Nigerian state into the next frontier and ensure that the mistakes of past years can be corrected.
All right. We'll hear from Dr. Ali ADAMU. We've had different sides of the coin now.
I can see that. You see, the way I look at it is that Nigeria's replacement of the economy, as well as her hosting of the World Economic Forum, do by sheer serendipity coincide at a time when there is a global trend towards the formation of economic blocks. Rather, there is a trend towards the re-strengthening, reinvigoration of economic blocks. Nigeria cannot function in isolation. No country could function in isolation. The only country, where the country attempts to function in isolation economically is said to embark on autarky. The only country that attempted autarky with some degree of success, of course, was Nazi Germany between 1935 and the end of hostilities in 1945. But then it didn't succeed much. And then, of course, you have the Khmer Rouge between 1975 in Indochina, in Cambodia, between 1975 and 1979. But that also was ephemeral. And then apartheid South Africa in the 1970s embarked on economic autarky, whereby borders are closed. But you see, it's a response of showing a red rag to a bull, whereby you provoke its siege mentality. Apartheid South Africa was able to even develop the atomic bomb on its own at Palandaba, if you remember, 1977-78, as a result of just auto-reliance, relying on herself without much input from outside. But that doesn't take you anywhere. If a country, a $17 trillion economy like the United States, would say that she's not complacent with what she has. She's reaching out for NAFTA, North American Trade Agreement, reaching out for TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. If, you know, the entire world is gravitating towards cooperation, and you find that that's why I say that there is an incidence of sheer serendipity. Maybe in the case of Nigeria, we've not rebased our economy for the past 2 decades, but then we've just rebased it. And then, wow, you have the World Economic Forum coming. Nigeria's hosting of the World Economic Forum, therefore, could be contextualized as follows. One, you see that we have just rebased our economy. And by rebasing the economy, we've told the world that, look, Nigeria is not all about, it's not the epitome of 419, it's not the epitome of negativity, it's not the synonym of anomie. We are productive too as a people, productive not only of gas and oil, but productive of some other essential services and commodities. And this is bailed out by the effort, I think, of the present government, the Jonathan administration, the way it's, you know, its agricultural drive, and then the resuscitation of the railways, the waterways, the renovation, active refurbishing of the airports, air services. I think, and these are going to form the basic underpinnings for the distributive promise of the economy. So we're telling the world that, look, the economy has been based not out of hubris but humility. By way of humility, we're inviting the entire world to come and say, look, as Africa's largest country in terms of population, and as the world's largest black country, we are producing other than oil. Oil constitutes only 16% of our GDP anyway. But you have things like services, financial services, film industry, and agriculture, and several others. And having done that, you will find then that foreign investors will come. Some will tell you that we don't need foreign investors. Why? Why? Because they have fallen victim to the warped, heterodox thinking of Aguirre Emmanuel and Anatole Laclau, Andrew Windo Frank, and name them, all the heterodox scholars who would sit in the armchair and tell you this is not that. The world's largest democracy, India, is already holding her own election with 814 billion people going out to the poll. But the entire process now is punctuated by the subsistent debate between Jagdish Bhagwati and Amartya Sen, both of them, great economic giants, and the one advocating propensity to command economy, that is some form of socialism, and the other one, of course, upholding the Milton Friedman, what do you call it, orthodox liberal law, if you want to put it. Yes, that's it. The monetarist kind of propensity. So you find that you never dismiss this, but what Nigeria is doing right now is not the hosting of the World Forum, the Economic Forum, ought not be taken in isolation. You don't divorce it from the effort of government right now. The effort of government is resuscitating power, because power is being privatized. Because once you don't privatize sectors like power, then you're allowing people to conceptualize land of pop and lollipop, where you don't pay for power, you just get power free of charge, and it cannot cohere.
All right. Okay, fine. That's over.
Well, I will look at it from different points of view. You see, the World Economic Summit, they say, suits Nigeria right now. One could even think, well, is that because of the World Economic Summit that will base our GDP? It can just happen within this period of time. No. I think what we are trying to do here is to tell the world that irrespective of what you think of us, we also are here. And we can handle things, do things, get to understand what we are, where we're going to. And that is why the issue of agriculture, the issue of aviation and co came into play when the rebasing was done. Having said this, I would want Nigeria actually to think back and look at now our economy. What is the formation of our economy? What makes our economy? Is that oil? The doctor had just said, yes, Nigeria want to buttress their economic power, economic strength, but the question here is, how does this affect Nigerians? What do we do for Nigerians to be part of this debasing? Last time you will remember, CYRIL, Yemekale said, well, it does not mean because we want to carry everybody along, that's why we should not do this. No. And he also said, the last debasing was how many years? 25 years ago. The question comes, Jonathan's administration has a program called Transformation Agenda. And the invitation of the World Economic Forum is to let them know precisely what this Transformation Agenda means and what it's going to do for the next centenary years. We have just passed 100 years. And if you ask any Nigerian what have we achieved, one could not say, well, this is what we've achieved. Simply because we have not redirected our objectives. Well, just like the other guy said, we need to get this back and move forward with the objective of the economic transformation. I think that brings us back to taking Nigerians along if we must achieve that end.
All right, we've had the opening comments and views of our guests on tonight's program. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the next segment will, of course, include an in-depth look at other aspects of the hosting of the World Economic Forum, and we'll begin to take in your calls. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
My wife, she not get tattoo. She find pass and walk in no rider.
Your wife is coming.
Can you register the NHIS? There is a backer activity bill. But she told me to get up on money to the digital for NHIS. Oh, Nima Paribo, over hospital. I don't need the Ragan, I wonder NHIS. A guy and everybody simple hospital bills. And my dreams always come true. I did go register for the NHIS. You go school. What do you know about the SE? My NHIS. Government don't they arrange better thing. Where you go benefit from? Me and Linda, we no go dey suffer for hospital bill again. I dey go register for the NHIS. Now, everybody can register. Bus driver, mechanic, trader, anybody. Easy access to healthcare.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This time our phone lines are open, and you can call in with your views and comments on what we're talking about tonight. Nigeria's hosting of the World Economic Forum on Africa, and what we expect, the benefits we expect to derive from showcasing just how investor-friendly our economy has been over the years. But let's return to Senator MAKARFI here. Now, it's been said that the best way is to reshape the world through entrepreneurship, education, and employment. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Right. So if we are to key into this, what are the concrete steps that we should take here?
Well, first of all, when you talk about entrepreneurship, what the entrepreneurs need from the government, first of all, is that less bureaucracy, because bureaucracy affects, the will of entrepreneurs, their ability and capacity to expand and produce. It looks at, stability of government policies and programs. Not that, a policy comes out today, midway the policy changes, and let me give clear example of some of these bureaucratic issues that affect entrepreneurship. Recently, I have received from Rice Millers Association of Nigeria a lot of representation. The president had directed that certain policies be reviewed in such a way that both local production and processing of rice can be enhanced. And it just requires a meeting of certain personalities, and that meeting is yet to take place. The meeting was supposed to take place within a week or two. Based on the complaint they made, is over 4 or 5 months. It hasn't taken place. That dampens entrepreneurship. And of course, if that policy is supposed to open up the economy, integrate more, bring the inclusive growth that we are talking about, create jobs, you see, it has been kind of undermined ab initio. And of course, when the importers, the problems they are having at the ports, but I'm happy because I received a report from the Nigerian Customs Service today that the problems that were created because they took over have largely been addressed, and this is expected because it's a transition issue. So that will improve, the capacity of entrepreneurs to make imports, to make exports, and the like. So, and when we talk of education is key to even bringing about the inclusive growth, because an uneducated society will remain largely rural, and whether rural or urban will be poor, because how are you going to engage them? They can't be engaged in this modern technological world. Even if it's agriculture, if you are uneducated, the subsistence farming that you are going to find yourself engaging. So education is what will unlock the massive human resource potential that we have in this country. And I'm happy that under this World Economic Forum on Africa, one of the initiatives is Safe School initiative that the private sector, led by Dangote and Jim Over and others, for the northeastern part of this country, to create safe environment in schools that our children can get educated. If the vast majority of our youth are educated, a lot of the even internal issues we are having now, we are not going to face them. Maybe we will face some kind of social tension, but not related to insurgency and other vices, in the way and context that we actually have. But I also want to observe, Cyril, here that this World Economic Forum on Africa, with all these initiatives, some of which you have just mentioned, is not a forum on Nigeria. So we must not make that mistake and just sit down because we are hosting. It's on Africa. So at the end of the day, is the ability of each of the African countries to have the right policies to create the necessary environment that will make that inflow of capital, that will enable it, to expand the economy and bring about the inclusive growth of the economy and job creation.
All right. Okay, yes. I'm very happy you asked this question, because that's the basic question we should have asked, but you asked it as a second question I like. I think you have to ask yourself, why is it that we're not creating jobs? It is simple. You see, you don't need an economist to tell you that. It will tell you that if you close your borders and protect your small businesses, they will thrive. Before the big businesses, before the adult businesses will come and take the border. In 1487, sorry, Henry the Seventh blocked British border because these that were coming from Netherlands, then called the Royal countries, that's Netherlands and Belgium, we were actually displacing British goods. In 1792, Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of Treasury, said we must protect infant industry. In fact, he was the man who invented infant industry concept by blocking foreign goods. By 1841, an economist called Liszt from Germany told the emperor that we must block British-made goods, foreign-made goods, in order to protect our young industries. In 1868, Emperor Meiji of Japan blocked everything and said we must find the solution to our economy. So it goes. I'm not saying we are going to block because the people have made it impossible. But there are solutions we must have taken. As a country that is forward-looking, even China said today, after the world economic crisis, a financial crisis in 2008, China knew what it has to do. If it has to continue exporting, nobody will buy. China went into a world economic development, which means investing in its infrastructure in order to reduce cost of business and also to migrate from getting high labor intensive production to capital intensive, but also high value added products. So what I'm thinking in essence we would have done, and I continue to say that's no magic. Don't think that we are thinking there's a magic about this. If you avoid the truth, and say one day because you avoided the truth will no longer surface. What Nigeria should do. And if we do it, I will tell you, Shikana, the country will move forward. We invest massively. I will tell you there's no country I know of, because what I do for the past years is to study economics, look at nations. So I have no other business. The little money I make through consulting just to keep body and soul together. But that's what I do every day. So unless we do the basic thing, invest in infrastructure. If we invest in infrastructure, because we there's no country that has actually developed without investing in infrastructure, and they can't hand it to private sector. Because let me tell you, those who are producing generators all over the world, see Nigeria as a dumping ground. There's no way they would allow, because some of these people who have bought these private things, because we have to understand the economic gain. Some of them they represent some interest. Okay. So no, I can't allow you to, because I haven't really listened to the point. So some of the things we have to do, have we been that we address infrastructure head on? Realistically, borrow money, because we are not borrowing. Companies are borrowing to fix them. Unless you borrow to spend on their comfort, but then the borrows, only other people in Africa to fix to expand his business. So we are going to fix infrastructure. Two, we must reduce the cost of money, because cost of money in this country is unnecessarily high. Sometimes the banks and the central bank want to do that to keep cost of money too high, and this cost of money in Nigeria is so high at 18%, 25%, and we go to other countries we are trying to catch up with. It is 0.1%, 3% maximum. South Africa is 5.1%. So unless we do all these things, we shall continue to shake the shadow and deceive ourselves that one day we get there. We cannot get, if it's the magicians develop economics, I think our choice Nigeria would have been. All right, let's give you in a moment, because the lines are open and a couple of calls are beginning to come through. Let's see if we can take the first one. I do believe two calls coming through, but let's take the very first one here and see who's on the line. Hello, introduce yourself please, and let's hear you comment or question. Hello. Hello, do you still have the caller on the line?
Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. Hello.
And I'm doing wonderful. All these kind of conferences, right from United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, coming down to desire to have a single currency by West African states, even though we have different kind of denominations. There are Francophone, there are Anglophone countries. We were supposed to have a single currency in West Africa by the year 2005. It is a mere history today. It is a mere essay. What about the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development? The main thrust of that conference was to disabuse the minds of the whole world that there's not going to be any country that will be regarded as the most favored nation. Here we are. If I can recall, in South Africa, there was the same a kind of a seminar close to this economic forum, World Conference on Trade and Development in South Africa. Nigeria was there. We are signatory to UNTAC. We are signatory to GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Just look at the core threats and core objectives of ECOWAS. Everyone, you know, it is for us to start thinking of another conference of a conference. When you look at United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, come to think of some other issues like security, stability, or World Customs Organizations. We are supposed to be somewhere. We are supposed to be somewhere, but here we are. For 30 days, we should remain indoors. There will be a conference in the essays. Look at Vision 2020. That's what the Vision 2020, I mean. So please, conference on this and economies, for God's sake. Let's take up the issue of the basin. You say 46, you captured only 46 economic activities. As far as I'm concerned, I have 46,000 informal economic activities. The other day, the SG was here, but I could not reach you. We have more than 46,000 informal sector businesses going on that are going. But nobody was able to capture that. I know, and the National Bureau of Health cannot handle that. I know as an economist, because I run it. At the end of the day, you end up with estimates. And those estimates, I did the analysis of variance. I hope there is a development economist there. I did the analysis of variance. I could not arrive at that particular 577 trillion. You understand? And for us to start even thinking of rebasing, we have to capture the informal sector. And why is it? Why is it that when we look at this other aspect of the rebasing, the service sector contributed more? So why not manufacturing? Understand? All these tilers, all these masons, all these machinery, you need to capture them. Even if it is an estimate, I did that estimate, and I'm very sure I got a very high standard error. The economists there will, I think, will try to grab what I'm saying. High standard error, that's one. Higher R square, that's two. At the same time, my analysis of variance could not give me an unbiased economic estimate. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Well, you have the vice comments then.
Can I comment?
I think we need to appreciate the fact that Nigerians, like other people in other countries, are getting what is called workshops and conference fatigue. However, we must not run away from the fact that forums like this provide us an opportunity to do a reflection that will allow us to quietly appreciate the international standards and best practices and take advantage of them. When we are discussing about World Economic Forum Africa, we tend to lose the real details because of the phrase world. It is a forum wherein you have an opportunity to see how other investors were able to provide a launching pad for themselves at home, moving either from the small scale through the medium and becoming big. It is an opportunity for us to learn how to ensure that we do what is called networking of our economic potentials. It is another opportunity for us to take a stock at the current disconnects that is a bane of our current dispensation in the Nigerian state between policy and practice and the challenges created by our legal frameworks that makes it difficult for many people to truly engage in entrepreneurial activities. Yes, the financial and fiscal regimes that we do operate provides us some challenges, but you'll discover that we are already working over and above all this. We must never forget the fact that we have moved away from a dispensation where the legal frameworks and the policy frameworks that we have operated with in the last couple of decades had not been reviewed or amended, but we now have in place a National Assembly that is really working assiduously to ensure that we have the kind of platforms that will make things easy. Another aspect of it, and I'm happy that the distinguished senator reflected on that, is the aspect of human security and capacity development. By talking in terms of education, you will recall that we have now started renegotiating the way and manner we truly take a look at education, and we're now interested in bringing to the fore entrepreneurial skills acquisition to ensure self-reliance and allow for Nigerians to again see the opportunity for us to be involved in manufacturing, and not just manufacturing for manufacturing's sake, but manufacturing from the base with an integrated focus and enhancing holistic, inclusive agenda. The exciting aspect of where we are coming from, which occasionally when I listen to economists who believe in taking loans, is that you go take a loan and you get indebted and you spread it over a period of years and you put people in trouble. But we were fortunate when we look at the way things have gone for us with the rebasing. If between 1999 and 2007 we did not succeed in wiping off our debts, I doubt if the rebasing would have given us the kind of thing that we have.
So you would not push for borrowing to fix certain issues like...
No. You must plan and ensure that people truly engage the process in such a manner that will allow for a holistic approach, but will always bring about value addition based on integrated development.
Okay. All right.
You see, the rebasing issue need not be decontexted from the world development trend. Rebasing is a requirement of the United Nations Statistical Commission. Every 5 years, a member country must rebase. We've not done that for the past 2 decades, as I said earlier. But once you rebase, of course, you are flaunting. You are telling the world that, look, we are productive. We produce A, B, C, D. Come and trade with us. No country, as I said, lives in isolation. Now, if the United States is a $17 trillion economy, would feverishly gun for Trans-Pacific Trade Alliance, or would accentuate her function within NAFTA, the North American Trade Agreement. According to Carla Hills, the former U.S. Trade Representative, every single day now, $2 billion worth of goods and services move back and forth across the U.S.-Canadian border, and $1 billion worth across the U.S.-Mexican border daily. So much so that, and then within Mexico now, because of international investment, which Nigeria is gunning for now, because the greatest benefit we'll get from this World Economic Forum, of course, is the inflow of FDI, the foreign direct investment. We do need foreign direct investment. Take Mexico. The Institutional Revolutionary Party has been ruling for the past 70 years. But development had been polluted change when it says la name forever writ large on a static history. But right now, according to Shannon O'Neill, a senior fellow, an economist and a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington, D.C., right now, Mexico is benefiting from the infusion, the investment of international advanced aerospace and automotive industries, Nissan, Datsun, Honda, and then you have Embraer. You remember Embraer, the Brazilian aerospace firm that manufactures high-tech goods, including the Tucano fighter jets, one of the best in the world today. Okay, it's in Mexico, along with Bombardier. So you see, as a result of that now, a new middle class is emerging in Mexico, has emerged in point of fact. Right. Mexico is a total of 160 million people, but 40 to 60 million people now belong in this affluent new class. Okay. Owning houses, automobiles, and telephones, and whatnot, and whatnot. So you see, if Nigeria succeeds in getting greater foreign involvement, definitely we're going to make it. The TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership that Barack Obama is busy promoting now, is going to involve Australia, across the Pacific, Australia, Brunei, Japan, Malaysia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Vietnam. And they are going to produce a total of about 1/3 of the entire world trade, and 40% of global GDP. And global GDP is $85 trillion now.
Okay, let's hear from Promise, who's calling in from River State. Promise, you're with us? Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Promise from River State. Yeah, I want to ask what is all about the GDP. Can you break it down to the common man to understand? And the summary about the summit. Because we are the local level of Nigeria. Like somebody like me, I have a small complex competence that is holding a river state. And I'm paying tax to the local government, paying tax to the state government, almost all to the federal level. And they are talking about the GDP and all about summit. Is this summit is all about just talking and talking without benefiting from the common man, or you are just talking to benefit the rich man on top without the common man on the street to understand? So can you break down to the common man to understand all about the summit and GDP? Okay. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I'm certain that our guests would do that, because we have a number of people who will break that down. Yes, you want to do that?
I want to say that, yes. You see, for Nigeria to move, only and sundry do not have to understand the nitty-gritty of what GDP is. Okay. If you get onto a 747 aircraft on your way to Jerusalem or Saudi Arabia, for God's sake, you don't have to master the avionics. You just sit in there and participate as a passenger and remain calm, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. Your own contribution to the economy would be at your own level. You make your own input. And therefore, Nigeria's entrepreneurial mojo cannot foreclose that at all. Okay.
Right, Dr. Maybe you can help.
Yes. So this time around, I think I need to clarify certain things. You know, we are a country of languages, of English and all the rest of them. And we have not thought about what have we done and what we should do. What foundation have we laid down? You see, while we were discussing from our colleagues, we've been talking from the senator and my other colleagues in the economy and co. You find out We've been talking and talking and talking and talking. But what? Let me put it in simple language. How many our economic information we have? What is our economic information we have? Today, what is the economy of Nigeria? Do we know it? Have we done something to get that done first? What are we presenting to the world? We have oil. I'm an investor. I decided to come and invest in Nigeria. The first thing I would want to know is that, what market am I going to run? Who are to buy my products?
Now, from discussions that will hold at this forum, do you expect to get in such information, wouldn't you?
Yes. I will try to at least give out what I mean here. You know, maybe the next, you opened this section with a particular issue which we've not touched. Maybe when we get there, I will explain. But what I'm trying to say here is the issue of Africa being the owners, or the target for the World Economic Forum is Africa. For goodness sake, has Africans come down to say these are the target of any nation to belong to the Economic Forum? Let me give you an example. Maastricht. Europe, before you have one common currency, there was condition. There was target you must reach. You must meet. You must have clear picture of your economy. You must have clear picture of your people. You must have clear picture of where you're going. You must also integrate your own system to other people's system. Well,
okay. Now, what I was under the impression.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that
also will help you get statistics. What's your economy?
Let me put it this way. Sorry. The Belgium is a survey.
Right. But it tells you, it gives you, provides you data. No, please. Please.
Let me ask you a question.
How many Nigerian the rebasing for you, and you say that rebasing is good, will not provide you the statistics of your...
Does not provide the statistics of the economy of the nation.
The rebasing is like census.
It's like census, but it's like census and it helps you, because when you do census, you know the population dynamics. Exactly. And it helps you to plan. So I'm not against rebasing. I'm rebasing. Also, after all, we agree on that before we do anything. We have one day because rebasing is necessary. It is because of rebasing that we now know actual Nigeria debt to GDP. Absolutely. No, sorry. And we know our ability, our credit worthiness. So they are not against rebasing. All right. Not against rebasing. What I'm trying to say here, I'm not saying that rebasing is not good. But I'm saying, does rebasing reflect the economy of the nation? It does. It does.
Please, you see, I'm in the midst of academicians. And it seems like dismissing a very important question a Nigerian had asked. And it seems as if it was just dismissed. That Nigerians don't have to understand. They must understand. Yeah. I'm not an economist, but what do you mean by GDP? Somebody asks, and maybe he's not seeing any difference in him. Okay, fine, we are largest economy, his condition has not changed, but it has been said that we are the largest economy, our GDP is this much. In my layman's view, and in the way that people like me understand, like the person that asked the question, it's just like we have two villages, village A and B. All of them, village A produces 1,000 tubers of yam. Village B produces 500 tubers of yam. In terms of productivity, village A is more productive. But the fact that village A is more productive, it may not necessarily mean that all those in village A don't go to bed hungry. It can be the fact that even the village that produces less, there are people, in terms of equality, feed more. And that is where the theme of this World Economic Forum inclusive growth. That apart from the huge figure of GDP, it should be inclusive so that each majority of Nigerians have a feel of the size of that economy. It affects them in their life. That is the theme of this World Economic Forum, and that is why it is important that inclusive, let more people get involved in the economy, enjoy the economy, let jobs be created. And that is why it is important and good.
Sorry, let me explain another way. We'll just take a short break here, and then we'll come back and continue with this thread.
Also, because I have something to say when we come.
All right. When we return, you will make that point. Stay with us at NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back.
Why fire? She not get part two. She finds out she's walking all over.
Your wife is coming.
Kin register the NHIS. Zanzibar Activity Bill. Ìbáṣepọ̀ wọn náà ti darapọ̀ mọ́ ètò ìlera adójútòfò NHIS ni. Ó ní máa pariwo owó ọsibítù.
Ọbụrụ na ị jere ahụ na akwụkwọ ndị NHIS, ị gaghị nọrọ ebe a na-eti mkpu the hospital bills.
Emergency always come through. I do go register for the NHIS. You go school. What do you know about the ASE? Na NHIS. Government don dey arrange better thing wey you go benefit from. Me and Linda, we no go dey suffer for hospital bill again. I dey go register for the NHIS. Now, everybody can register. Bus driver, mechanic, trader, anybody.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA. Growing with the nation.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. It's Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, the people, great nation.
Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
All right, thanks for staying with us. And we, just before the break, we were trying to put a few things in perspective, talking about what the GDP means and how the Nigerian can understand the GDP, because we've mentioned that so many times here. And of course, before that, we got into this bit of a spot on what the rebasing of the GDP actually throws up. And we listened to the distinguished senator explain it in, I should think, a manner that most people would get to understand it. Probably have a different perspective.
It's not that I have different perspective. I think I have to explain it further. First and foremost, what is the GDP? The GDP is so simplistic, just summation that's adding up all the goods and services that a country produces. It could be a group of countries, because some countries come into an economic zone, like European Eurozone. Now, but there's a problem, and I'm happy he pointed it out. You know, there are two types of GDPs. There are GDPs that are economies that are vertically driven. What does that mean? I will explain. When an economy is vertically driven, it is an economy that is having a multiplier effect without trickle-down effect. The economies that are horizontally driven, those are economies, and the vertically driven economies don't create jobs. But it is hijacked or it is controlled by external forces and internal forces. Now, horizontal economies, horizontally focused economies are economies that are driven by internal generated revenue, which means that they have multiplier effects and the trickle-down effects. That's why they create jobs.
Right.
Yes, I've said that.
Yes. Okay. So if we take it from that stance,
yes,
and that we look at it from the perspective of the World Economic Forum on Africa, holding here, where that many number of political leaders and business leaders will come together and exchange ideas and share knowledge of how these economies can grow. What's wrong with that?
I'm saying that nothing is wrong with that, but what I'm trying to say is that this country, besides that, must have a comprehensive master plan. And also we have to look at the cost benefits, because CYRIL, I will assure you that if the Nigerian government is a privately owned organization, it will not cause this without looking at the cost benefit. Let's be realistic with this. There's nothing wrong with that, but also we have to look at the cost benefit. But also we have to look at going forward. Because it's a meeting. When these people go, how many of them will come back? You know what I'm saying? You see, sorry, there are two things I can do at this age now. I can speak grammar and confuse people, and people will clap hands for me. Like in those days, everybody will be speaking Zigizim and things like that. I can go to the point, because I don't have the passion for speaking grammar, going around with you. Because I know the problem, and I don't need to go around the problem. And because of the passion I have for this country, I continue to say that we can continue deceiving ourselves. I'm not saying this out of hatred, I love the president, and I will support his but let's fix the problems as every other nation will do. Let me tell you, sir, what was brought to my attention yesterday. Do you know what is called e-commerce? E-commerce is selling without having borders. Now, do you know that China, India, South Africans, Germans have invaded Nigerian e-commerce? And from their countries, they set up e-commerce websites, and people put it in Naira. And Nigerians will buy all the things made in their countries, and the money will be remitted to their accounts. You see, that's a lot of things we have to do in this country. What I want this country to do before I die is, this is one of the richest countries. Why should we continue to beg the world? Domestic investors are more important than foreign investors.
All right, I think we need to clearly understand what we are talking about when we say inclusive growth development-based economy. Mama Sikira is married to a gentleman who is now privileged to have a good job. But because of the demands of Baba Sikira's job, she ends up being a housewife, does a laundry for the man and the children. But if the laundry had been contracted out to a washerman or taken to, let's say, a dry cleaner, the man will end up paying X amount of money every month. We are now saying to ourselves, Mama Sikira is contributing to the economy in terms of the cost actually of the services she rendered, even though she is not paid. if Baba Sikira are taking it to a washerman, Baba Sikira will pay 20,000 naira every month for laundry. So Mama Sikira is actually contributing 20,000 to the economy. The other aspect of it is that when we now scale it up, you are again having an opportunity to make the citizens of the Nigerian state to appreciate that I don't necessarily need to be deluded and stampeded away from this small place where I'm contributing my own quota to the economy. And that is the basis of the analogy of sitting in the aircraft and enjoying the flight. But at the same time that you are encouraging people to appreciate their contribution, you are again providing them a stimulus to say what you have been doing, you can now improve it by following the legal framework which will allow you to move it into a business enterprise. Quite a number of mama teachers retired, end up keeping other people's children and providing crèche services. You can now move to the next level of actually formalizing this kind of services by getting 1, 2, 3 other women like you and establishing a proper crèche. It is registered by law and the facilities are properly examined and then they move. What are we benefiting from hosting a forum like this? We are benefiting, simply put, an opportunity, a platform where people can think through and see that it is possible to truly jumpstart, reinvigorate, sustain, and drive the economy towards development and integrated growth. The growth that we are interested is not the one that is elitist based, and that is where I don't blame those who are already fatigued with the series of conferences and workshops. I always hear people say we do not have a master plan. The challenge we have is that we have so many frameworks that have not been properly integrated one to another.
Okay. Umar is coming in from Birnin Kebbi. Umar, go ahead. Hello, Umar. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Umar. I'm actually calling from Birnin Kebbi.
Go on. Yes, Umar, go ahead.
This issue of economic forum, I think is welcome idea to discuss economy. But from the layman point of view, the GDP basin is placing Nigerian economy high. At the same time, the World Bank is placing Nigeria among the poorest country in the world. I don't know how you can reconcile this to hypothetical statement.
Okay.
And secondly, if the issue of security and issue of power is being addressed, I don't think it is necessary to hold this kind of economic forum, because investors will come by themselves because of the enabling environment being created in the country. That is my contribution. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, we will really respond to that.
Yeah, Umar, to tell you the truth, the rebasing of the economy, as I said, is essential. If it's a blunder, then the blunder must have begun from the United Nations, because it established a commission for doing just that. And Nigeria, I think, the present government, looks like abided by that, by rebasing our economy. Be that as it may, we've come to know anyway that we are Africa's largest economy. That's good knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not to say, because most of my colleagues seem to be confusing the incidence of rebasing with the statement of wealth distribution. That's completely different. The United States is a trillion, it's a $17 trillion economy, does not host a kind of sugar cube equality between the citizens. In point of fact, standard of living and wealth distribution is much higher in Finland or Denmark or even Switzerland than in the United States. But that does not preclude, that does not tell you that, look, there is an equal distribution of wealth. Southern United States, the antebellum, Southern United States is less endowed in terms of personal possessions than the New England states or than California, the Silicon Valley area, for instance. So that's not to say that because we've rebased, people should not begin to say we are taking government to task. Yeah, we've rebased now, so we have so much money, we produce so much. Now go ahead. Unless, of course, you want us to embark upon a sudden imposition of command economy, or socialism, if you want to put it that way, whereby everybody's property will be wrested and then there will be redistribution. And I don't think too many Nigerians will welcome that.
Would you suggest shutting the borders like...
no, I don't understand. We can't shut our borders. What my comment is, that we should concentrate upon our own homegrown industries, but that's impossible in the modern world. You need capital, you need expertise, you see the way industrial development functions is, if he cites industrial development from say 1720s to the first half of the 20th century, to the outset of the 20th century, industrial development in those days completely different. When Great Britain industrialized from 1730 to 1860, then industrialization began to spill over to continental Germany, to France, then to Meiji Japan, to the United States after the Civil War. But that kind of industrialization, the type Frederick Lister and Alexander Hamilton has been discussing even before, was completely different from our own perspective of industrialization today. The kind of industrialization Nigeria is leading today, the kind of industrialization Nigeria is leading today is one that captures advanced industrial development from atop and then brings it into the country. There's nothing wrong with that. I told you of how a new affluent middle class Mexicans, real homegrown Mexicans benefited from the economy.
Okay. So let's go to Gary coming here, right?
I want to correct an impression. I didn't say that rebasing is bad. Neither did I say the World Economic Forum is not good for Nigeria. Let me borrow a statement from Kunle. He said, Mrs. what do you call that name?
Mama
Sikira become economic producer by washing the husband, the children's clothes. My question, in an economic nation, what would Baba Sikura say I'm benefiting for this contribution I'm making? That question cannot be answered by this team. Because she's not benefiting anything. Now, coming back to the issue of World Economic Forum. I think this is a time Nigeria actually will present themselves. I made this statement before, that this is the time we should look at the transformation agenda, what it has in terms of economic development, what it has in terms of rebuilding the foundation of Nigerian economy. Because the world wants to know, yes, we've come. Especially for oil. Yes, you are talking of agriculture. Can we know where do we put this money in agriculture and who is going to consume? What is the local market? Okay, these are things that we must look at when we're talking of economy.
We go over to Jos. We have a call from Douglas. Douglas, go ahead.
My question is that the GDP of the country has been built, and we were told that the economy of the country has moved forward. But a situation whereby, maybe I will use some of the discussions there as an example. I can see former governor of Kaduna State, yes? If he has the resources of Kaduna State in his hands, and decide to take that same resources to Kano State and keep for his safekeeping or whatever may be his reasons, then at the end of the day, he goes back to that same Kano governor to look for help in order to come back to Kaduna State and do one or two things for the people of Kaduna State. I want to know the terminology the economists describe such a situation. Then secondly, my question is that, another question is that the GDP has been rebuilt, and we are told that the economy has improved. The workers are not paid. The businessman on the streets cannot sell. You stay from morning to night, but no income. And the GDP entails improvement in output. I can define it that way. So which type of economic situation is that?
Okay. All right. Well, I think the first part of that, perhaps Senator MAKARFI would comment on that.
Well, I don't really get his question very well, but maybe if he is implying that Nigeria has taken its money outside and then is going where you are saying go outside, borrow money, come and develop. First of all, the world economy is an integrated one. You can't keep all your resources at home. You understand? Money is moved about. Not all money are spent. Some are savings, some are investment. So there can never be a position where all the money belonging to any particular place will be taken out any particular outside that territory. That's the bit that he tried to ask. If that what he meant, I think he's taking it to the extreme. It never happens actually that way. And on the issue of the basin and the larger economy, GDP, and the plight of the ordinary man, I had said previously, the size of the economy may not necessarily translate into an improved life for a majority of the citizens of a given country. And that's why we must never miss the theme of this World Economic Forum on Africa, inclusive, that word inclusive, so that don't just look at the size. Make sure that majority of the citizens, are getting a benefit out of that size of an economy. They are included in the growth of the economy. If you are included, you must have been employed. So if you are employed, you are earning some revenue, and you are producing goods or services, and you are getting paid for it. That is the inclusive issue, and how Africa can achieve that to reduce unemployment, to reduce the level of poverty, is one of the themes of this World Economic Conference on Africa.
Sorry, but it boils down to what I have been saying. I don't know whether I'm speaking a different grammar. Because, sorry, I have looked at the global economy, every nation. Between 2010 and 2013, America created 8.9 million industrial jobs, manufacturing jobs, but not service sector. China every year. Go and Google it. You don't need even to all this time. Go and Google, you say the figures. China every year creates 10 million, minimum of 10 million jobs in the manufacturing sector. And now they have moved into infrastructure because they're investing in infrastructure. In fact, China is spending up to 1.3 trillion within 2 years to upgrade, expand this infrastructure. So there's no magic. The magic we are facing here does not exist. So what Nigeria must do, and we must do it very quickly, is to borrow. Look, America you're talking about is 106 indebted. That is, if you look at its GDP is talking about 17 billion, which means America is owing about 18 billion to individuals and to nations. So look at the essence of the basin. It's for you to have the tool to plan, so that we have a direction. We said this, but the problem now, sorry, that Nigeria after the basin, we discovered that we have one of the lowest debt to GDP. But it was surprising me when the minister said, no, we're not going to borrow. How do we fix the problem? Because we need modern infrastructure. So I will assure you that the day we have up to 100,000 megawatts, build road from here to Sokoto 5 million, that's good. And we tell you, the world will be running after us. We need them to tell us to wait. Because now, the cost of doing business will crash. And more so, it becomes possible that we don't even need to impose excessive tariffs. Because now, it will make it easy for people to move goods and services locally around. Now we're talking about quantitative and qualitative GDP. I did an article 2 weeks ago where I compared South African GDP and Nigerian GDP. But okay, it's understandable. Nigeria is particular to be up there. But the problems need to be solved if we want to create jobs. Because you cannot create jobs by announcing it. How do you create jobs? Is to teach this sector that we now create jobs. For example, informal sector, I think it's sensitive that informal sector is the key to the economy. But you see, when the informal sector is the monopoly, it remains informal. There's no way you can capture it. Had it been that we have captured informal sector and make sure that everybody in the informal sector, we now have a business number, and they have a tax scope and things like that. Now, government will know those in informal sector that it can help. And how they can then get loans, how they can then expand their businesses. But the whole thing is like fire brigade approach. Look, let's stop this conversation. If we all meet here to be going around grammar, because I'm not trying to brag. Sorry, for the past 30 years I've been speaking grammar. In fact, when I was called a professional student before I left MIT. But you get a point at your life, you tell yourself the truth, because I cannot conclude between myself. Let's see infrastructure. Look, 12.7%. The way South Africa is 43%, Brazil is 40% of its GDP, America is 106%, India is 67%. Why can't we borrow? So long as we borrow to fix infrastructure, I have said, look, and of course, sorry, nobody will give us the money. If you go abroad now, Congress will give you conditions, but we have 43 billion barrels of oil. We need 3 billion oil. And go to China. China has $3.7 trillion it does in America. Okay, give us 300 billion. But they're not going to give us cash because nobody will move such cash. Now we'll be able to set infrastructure master plan and the power master plan and say that it will power to move Nigerian power. By the way, the South Africa we're talking about of 52 million people produce 42,000 megawatts. So why can't we go and they say those who can fix the power sector? What government will do after generating and transmitting? Then they hand it over to the private sector for distribution. If we do these things and fix power and the road network, education is talking about we take care of itself, because it is when people start producing that people will hire unemployed. But when you have a PhD and you have no job, I have an MSc, I have no job. But what do you go and have those educations? When nobody is going to, when you are not productive, nobody is going to hire you. You are out of the market.
It's most unfortunate that what we are contending with as we seek to take Nigeria to the next level is that we are at loss on how to safely balance macroeconomic issues with microeconomic discourse. When you take a look at these figures, you see clearly the need for us to be very careful and ensure that if we're going to take facilities, which is the right phrase that is supposed to be used, like we have taken in diverse times, we end up having facilities that are counterproductive to the Nigerian state. A good example, we are reinvigorating the Nigerian rail system. But we ask ourselves the question, what percentage of that reinvigoration is locally sourced? Meanwhile, we have the steel complex. The contribution of the Ajaokuta, Etope, Delta Steel, Oshobo Rolling into the reinvigoration is near nil. I see the discussions that will be taking place at the various tiers and sectors of the forum that we are hosting now, giving us an opportunity to see clearly the need to engage and ensure that we talk in terms of the local content. You will discover that for the automobile industry, we've now just done something that is very instructive to say, come, there's a policy now that we want you to manufacture, even though it is that you are bringing the CKDs, the completely knocked down parts to assemble the vehicles in Nigeria. And this in turn will ultimately translate, as it were, and like Dr. Ali ADAMU was trying to help us to appreciate. Yes, some of these things appear elitist, but they have a way of trickling down. There is a trickling down effect. And at the same time that you're having trickling down effect, there is a capture net that has been introduced by the Federal Inland Revenue System that we are now operating with, and that is to ensure that everybody begins to pay one form of tax or the other. And this is interfaced with the new National Identification Management System that we are operating, which will help us to capture all these things and ensure that we are having inclusive and integrated growth, because all the sectors are now playing their own role. One of the few things that I always want us to appreciate each time we talk about the need to take loan, I'm aware that they call some people economic hitmen, and they want to keep you in a web that will make you perpetually subservient to some economies. The easiest way out is for you to operate within your own means and ensure that everybody makes the required sacrifices that will allow us to move to the next level. President Abacha just succeeded in helping us out. We are back into deficits, and we have a corruption index that is showing us that it is safer that you do not take this loan in the first instance. Okay. But when you look at the way we are going to go about inclusive growth, it is the interconnectivity and interdependence. Take, for instance, Lagos State is doing agricultural transformation, as it were, investing heavily in agriculture. But they do not have land. What have they succeeded in doing? They've gotten Ogun State to provide them land for their agric. You now have states like Jigawa State that needs human resource and is going into partnership with some other states to take some of the human capacity that they already have, human resource, to support them. We need to keep working on all those things. Those are the things that I think will help the economy to move forward.
All right. So we have a caller from Makudi. If you're still there, just go ahead. Hello.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Obama from Makudi.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, if you look at the economic situation of most of the developed countries in the world, like China and America, 50 to 60% is driven by the private sector. The role of the government is just to provide the basic amenities. Then the economy will drive itself. We are talking of the building of our economy. It's just as if it's few people working, getting the money, and the distribution of Nigeria economy is skewed. you will see that an ordinary Nigerian on the streets will be asking that, what are they talking about the economy? We are the 26th in the world and first in Africa, without any reflection. South Africa, there's good available, the government has made available power, road network, water, all the basic amenities are there. It's just for the private sector to be motivated, and the interest rate that is the cost of borrowing should be low. Everybody can walk up to the government, and provided you have a good feasibility study, they see that you invest on them, you make profit. The government should provide an environment that financial institutions should provide funds to people. The government should just focus on providing the basic amenities and allow the private sector to be automatically driven itself. If we think of trying to say that we continue talking of economic forum, it will come and go. Each administration will definitely come with its own economic policy. And come to think of it, the greatest problem we are having in our country today is discontinuity in government. Obasanjo came out with a good viewpoint, and that is how after his administration is died. That is, I'm talking of the needs document. If you go through the needs document, you will discover that it has everything that addresses this economy itself. But after his administration, everything went off. Now we are talking of the transformation agenda. If the government in power did not succeed, another government company, they gave out their own economic plan, of which it ought not to be so. Government needs to be in continuity, so that the master plan should be on the ground. Any person that comes in, this is the master plan. That is building our economy on a holistic approach. I think that is the best options that will bring the economy forward. And enough leakages in our economy. Now, if you even have the financial minister himself, how much did we get in this country to do? It is from the daily income we get from the day that it will be aggregated to the monthly income is generated, then it will be what we get at the end of the year as our national income. So I don't know. When you ask how can our economies be accountable? We just say, even though there are a lot of things that we are not captured, like the informal sector we are talking of, a lot of things that have not been captured in our economy are still there. What are we doing about it? The leakages in our economy is too much. I would have agreed with FAGBEMI on the issue of saying that we shouldn't borrow. We should look inward and see what we can do with what we have. If the leakages that will protect us from great success. What we are the most blessed country on earth is Nigeria, and we are suffering. It's what is happening. But that is the condition we find ourselves. Our resources, we need not to go to dime from any country and use it to develop. Since we cannot use our resources to develop, I urge the government, if they feel that they can be able to borrow, what they are doing should be invested in critical infrastructure.
Okay, because I was going to get a bit confused. You didn't support borrowing a moment ago, and as you were rounding up, you talked about we should borrow again. I was worried about the inconsistency there. Okay, Dr. Ali, thanks for coming through.
Looks like we've been running around supporting the same point, perhaps unwittingly, but you see, my perception is this. He is of MIT and out of Stanford, humbly. I mean, would know, maybe he belongs in within the heterodox school of thought, and I do belong within the neoliberal school of thought. Student of Milton Friedman. So there you are.
If we return to it and
the thing is, just as he was saying, government must develop infrastructure.
Okay.
That's the prime function of government.
Thank you.
But you see, right from the onset, that's what I was saying. I was saying the Jonathan administration has woken up Nigerian techno-bureaucratic elite from her 30 years lumber. I mean, during which the railway had been left moribund.
Okay.
And then the waterways were neglected to some extent. The airports, the same. New more airports were not built, but now they are being built. The state could go so far. State intervention, therefore, should not entail actual entrepreneurial enterprises.
Okay.
So, but the state must provide the requisite infrastructural base for development, and which is what this government is doing. Definitely. I think the Minister of Agriculture, the other day I watched him, I think, talking about the agricultural, what do you call it?
Value addition.
Value addition to agriculture. And I thought that was good, because soon we'll have enough raw materials to manufacture, whereby you will have enough food for the country as well as industrial raw materials, and then we also will be exporting to the West African sub-region as well as other parts of Africa. And then too, the industrial raw materials coming from our mines as well as agriculture will make us metamorphose into an export-driven economy. And the entire world is about that, because Germany in Europe, the whole of Europe, there's no country as lively as Germany now. You know why? Because it's the preponderance of its GDP is manufacture.
Okay, Dr. Adewale, let's return to this basic point as we wind down. And one of the key points here in this forum is the skills initiative, such as the Safe Schools and Grow Africa initiative, which Senator MAKARFI started talking about earlier on. And as we wind down, how can we take advantage of this?
Well, the Grow Africa initiative, already we are taking advantage, because already more than half of the committed funds are coming into Nigeria. And I mean, that is more than a lion's share when you look at the number, the totality of African countries that we want to draw. And the skills initiative,
Safe Schools,
Safe Schools initiative is specifically for the northeastern part of Nigeria. So it's not a program for Africa per se. It's an initiative under this current forum, but this is a special purpose vehicle, you know, for the northeastern part of Nigeria, to address, you know, the educational deficiencies that are there. So totally, that is something beneficial to Nigeria. It's not something to be shared with any other country.
All right. And the infrastructure and entrepreneurial development, these remain major problems in Africa. So how can we fix this as quickly as possible?
That's what Nigeria has to do. It's not magic. And I'm happy about the issue of leakages in our... In fact, so many countries depend on internal generated revenue. But when you have to do that, you have to be horizontally focused on the economy. And it takes time, because you have to be able to build capital. Because whether you like it or not, our entrepreneurs have to, people like them will have to build capital in order to go into a heavy industrial manufacturing business activity. But you see, I have always, since last year, when I saw what is happening, we have under Fiscal Responsibility Act a section, but section 22, subsection 1, that says, and it was bad, it was weak argument, that government agencies that generate revenue should remit to the federation account 20% of their operational surplus. 20% of the operational surplus. What that means is that they will now increase the cost of their operation to a point that the operational surplus becomes far zero, and then they remit zero. That was why NAPC did not remit any money. That's why when I was with the National Assembly...
no, that is, please, you are wrong there. You are wrong. You are getting it wrong there. saying that was why NNPC did not remit any money. There are mixing of issues. Yes, the Act establishing a number of bodies have actually made it possible for them to spend revenue the way they like and render almost nil return. But there is a reviewed policy now which compels them to remit percentage of gross revenue. Yes. So it doesn't matter whether it's the gross revenue, not the operating surplus as indicated in the Fiscal Responsibility Act. But the issue to do with NNPC is totally different from
let me remove NNPC. That's why I'm trying to give an example. So what I'm trying to say is that had it been that we had used that act and maybe that fixing it, if we use that act, we reduce the leakages in the new generation. Because internet created in the new federal government will be enough to run a federal government. If we do that, then we take oil money for projects, for capital projects.
Okay, that's over. Sorry, we're winding down. So
yes, because you didn't allow me to finish my this. Yes, you said there was something you raised when we came in here. You said there's a project or a system which federal government, maybe a good information to my colleagues, which federal government is now coming in with, called Basic Registry and Information System in Nigeria. What is it all about? It is a national integrated data and information infrastructure. What does this mean? It means that all we have been saying here become clearer, possible. That foundation which he has been mentioning on is what this project is going to do for Nigeria. And call it economy, call it social, call it technological, call it health, anyway, lies their operative model on this particular project. So it's now up, and the federal government intends to get it done within now and the next 5 years. And that will define, rebase, bring us back to the question of knowing what we want, where we're going, and how we will solve our problems.
All right, and so it is on that note we must leave this. We must leave it. I suppose we could spend the rest of the morning talking about this, but of course the World Economic Forum on Africa has been hosted by Nigeria, and we're already in the early hours of Wednesday, the 7th, and it begins officially. And for the next 2 days, the world's political and economic leaders, business leaders will be here, and we'll talk about what Africa, and particularly Nigeria, which is now the largest economy in Africa, can offer in terms of growing the economy. It is on that note that we'll thank all our guests who have come on tonight. Let me say a big thank you to Senator Ahmed MAKARFI, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
ENWEGBARA, passionate all the time, not dropping anything at all. Thank you for coming. He's a development economist. Thank you for having this. Right. And FAGBEMI, Executive Director, Center for Peace Building and Socio-Economic Resource Development. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Dr. Ali Adamu, it's good to see you again after a while. Thank you for being here. Dr. Ali Adamu is a development consultant and economic historian. Thank you. And Dr. Anthony Uwa, industrial economist and engineer. Thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. Right. Thank you. So that's our program. We thank you for watching, especially those who called in to offer their views and comments. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm CYRIL STOBER. Bye for now.